Welcome to the IME Community Podcast, where self-love is your superpower to achieve your weight and life goals and make your mark in the world. Your host is Dr. Karla, activist, MD. If you're a teen who's looking to revolutionize your health and can't wait to follow your dreams, welcome to the IME Community.
Create a short video for you all and to kind of summarize the podcast and YouTube video I did yesterday, and so that you can have that, and I'll send it out to you on email on Monday. Okay. I'll have some coffee with my Hawaii cup. Hope you're having a great weekend. Yesterday I did a YouTube video and podcast for IME Community called Teens and Weight Bullying, Supporting Children and Teens Who Are Being Weight Bullied, but it's also about just bullying in general. And the website to go to is stopbullying.gov. We also have a really amazing expert in bullying. She's world-renowned at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So I'm going to reach out to her and ask her to be on the podcast and the YouTube video. So stay tuned for that. And she's usually pretty accommodating. So I reviewed one of the talks that I had gone to when I went to the American Academy of Pediatrics National Conference and Exhibit, which is happening this weekend again, but I'm not participating because I'm doing other stuff with my family. But you all know how that goes. Anyway, there's some really amazing experts on bullying at Vanderbilt. But I thought we could just summarize it and include the coaching. And I had the teens coach me in the member community, and they did an amazing job, of course, because they're amazing life coaches. And with that, you know, I know they're incredible thinkers, and they soak up the coaching principles, but they are still so young and going through these issues. So I don't mean to say like they're anywhere near like being able to just coach themselves through this, and that these problems go away when we learn to coach ourselves, because it's still life. And anyway, they're still learning. And I am someone who, I've been doing this coaching stuff for 4 years really intensely, and it's just like showing up like with a daily intentional habit practice, like for myself, to remind myself to do that when I get in those moments. So it's not like we reach a summit and then we're like, oh, it's all done. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So stopbullying.gov, there's an expert at Vanderbilt. I'm gonna reach out to get an interview on the podcast. But there was a lot of helpful stuff in the YouTube video and the podcast that talked about, you know, what we can do, and you know, how common it is, unfortunately. And with cyberbullying, obviously that's just like an open field, the open access, where another place, you know, other than school, where that happens. Obviously, if your teen is a member of the community, you're a parent who doesn't participate in what's called weight-based victimization at home. But there are a lot of studies, I do want to bring that to your attention. There are a lot of studies, even recent ones, that do show that it happens in the home a lot. And of course, me being on TikTok all the time, I see these videos all the time of, and people sharing the comments on my videos about how their parents participated in bullying, basically them. And, we all have to give ourselves grace and compassion because we've been raised in this really messed up diet culture. And then also, the harms of maybe going to the doctor and the doctor saying, your kid's BMI is this, and, their weight's increased. And then some doctors saying you need to lose weight, or you need to, just go on this, just go to Weight Watchers, or, it's really not helpful, or just cut calories, eat less, move more, or just do this. When the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, USPSTF, that looks at all the evidence base in medicine, clinical medicine, showed that patients need, children and adolescents need 26 to 75 hours of comprehensive behavioral intervention within a 2 to 12 month period in order to have any significant health behavior changes, any changes in body mass index or weight. So you're not getting that when your doctor is like, and unfortunately they're still prescribing low calorie diets to teens, which makes me really sad. But you're not getting that. So that's what IME Community does. And when you look at the comprehensive behavioral intervention, though, I'm not a therapist, and especially with this bullying stuff, I know, I'm not, I am not going to step in and treat things or make diagnoses. And for sure, we need to get our kids to the therapist, get them to their pediatrician or their family physician, get things assessed. If we feel like there are other, harmful effects or mental health things going on, as someone who lives with chronic depression and has for my whole life, like I can tell you, accessing a therapist and is so important. So I'm talking a lot in circles, which I do because I get excited talking about all stuff. But this is a very important topic to me. So the teens in the member community this week, I asked them to coach me on a patient that I had years ago. She was my patient. She was a baby, and I just love her so much. She's the funniest, most wonderful person. And she always struggled. I wouldn't even say she struggled. I mean, that's just what her BMI was. And she just had a weight issue since she was little. And I always, as a pediatrician, I always thought, wow, I really failed. Like I didn't help them enough with that because she was just so dang cute, and I don't know. But anyway, she came to me, she participated in everything I did in the community with my nonprofit, all the programs, and, hugged me, and so funny and awesome kid. And then in high school, she came to my clinic, and she was talking about during one of her visits, a time when she was, or not a time, there were a lot of times when this kid who was sitting diagonally and behind her would just stare at her the whole time. And he had weight bullied her. And she thought, he was just doing that because of her weight. And it was just so distracting and so annoying, but more than annoying, like very creepy, very just harmful to her. She couldn't concentrate in class, of course, and it was just oppressive, And so, we had a good team. This was way before I did any of my life coaching or weight coaching at all. And I knew nothing about coaching. I just had done motivational interviewing, which is great, but it's not the same. And we had a great social worker, and, we worked with her and the school. And of course, the mom wanted to intervene right away. And the daughter was like, no, don't do that, but the teacher wasn't that responsive from what I can remember. But I wish I could have gone back and actually coached her, because we talked about relationships and boundaries last week. And I know that I've created so many boundaries, like in a really healthy way, and we're meant to have boundaries. So how can we advocate? How can we create those boundaries for ourselves? And we talked last week in the coaching call about what are healthy boundaries, and all the different types of boundaries that we can create for ourselves. And the book that I worked with is called Boundaries my coach had me read this. It's really good book. It does have a Christian bend to it, but that's not the whole gist of it. But it uses a lot of analogies and stuff. So, but anyway, it's really a good book. It's been around a long time. It's by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. So I would check that out. This has been really helpful for me, and talks about like boundary problems that we have. Like if we're an avoidant or compliant, we talked about this in the coaching call, avoidant or compliant with boundaries, meaning we really don't set them. We don't want to deal with them, which is, okay. We're just not used to setting it. We think, a lot of times things just kind of go away if we kind of avoid it. Right. And then that makes us susceptible to people who are controllers, who are aggressive or manipulative, who actually don't respect or see any boundaries. They're pretty boundaryless. They will not respect other people's boundaries. And that's what happens in a bullying situation, right? So how can we, if we're avoidant and compliant, be less susceptible to, not that there's anything wrong, and this certainly shouldn't be happening, and we didn't bring it on ourselves. So that's the first thing to say to like your child or your teen if they're being bullied. Bullying is not acceptable ever. It is not acceptable ever. And if they tell you, like as a trusted adult, then the thing that you want to work on is that you want to help them stop it for them. So as a coach, like I'm going to say, like, sometimes we get into like this whole thing, like, oh, the bully must be going through this, or they must have been bullied too. And, who knows what they're going through. And we don't want to get into any of that. Like, we're going to let them be who they are. They've shown us, we believe them fully. They're going to be totally wrong about us. They are wrong about us. They know nothing. But we're not going to get in their business. We're not going to get in their lane. We're going to stay in the lane of disrupting this for our teen. Okay. And it doesn't happen overnight. I get it. So the thing is, saying bullying is not acceptable. It's totally wrong. And then so showing support. And then also the next step is building the skills. So like, what can you do? So we want to build up, this is like kind of the self-coaching. So when I ask them what, if I play my patient who was sitting there and the kid's staring at her, what would you do? How would you coach her? Of course there's like, that really sucks for her. I can't. And I said, yeah, it does. It does. And at the same time, as a coach, and when we're setting boundaries, we can't get in the pool. So like, as much as we want to just be like, obviously we're triggered, like, this kid, I'm going to get him, or this is going to stop, or I'm going to call the parent, or I'm going to call the school up right away, or instead of taking a pause. We want to focus on building the skills of I don't like using the word victim, because I don't want anyone to feel like they are a victim, because they're not helpless, because then that just perpetuates that kind of power divide. But if you are being bullied, we want to build up your skills, because they're there, and you get to decide how you want to show up to set those really healthy boundaries for yourself. And as a coach, I'll tell you, like, the more you can kind of do a mental rehearsal or pre-visualization with your teen of that situation and get ahead of it a little bit with intentionality. We can't control the outcome, but what we can control is how we want to show up and where we put our attentional focus. So same thing for us parents. We don't cause and we don't control, okay? We have to have some trust that we're going to work together to figure it out. And the only goal is to stop it for our teen, to help them stop it for just themselves. We're not going to get into the other lane for other people. Okay. We're going to stay in our lane. This is our business. This is what we can do. And we can't control the outcome. So I've had a million times with my kids where they're like, you gave me crappy advice. You told me to do this, and this is what happened. And this is how they responded. And I'm never listening to you again. So that's happened to me. That's probably going to happen to me today with my daughter, Audrey, I guarantee you. So, you know, I approach things, you know, differently. And so we want to build the skills up in the teen so that they decide how they want to show up. Okay. And what are the different kind of boundaries that they can set. And we don't get in the pool with them. Though we want to. That's called, like, as a coach, like you want to be like coaching your teen. You do. And you can coach them. So you can hold space and listen and get some details. You know, just ask some questions. Where did this happen? When does it happen? What is said? How are you responding? You know, those kinds of things. Just get a little detail in it. Hold space, and listen. Okay, that's the number one thing. We want to get in the pool because it's our kid. I mean, that's like the most like, I want to fix this. I want this to end. This shouldn't be happening. And you're in the pool with them. And you're not the curious observer that's going to help them build skills to really handle this. Because this is, I mean, these are boundary issues, right? I mean, it's like bullying isn't going to go away in our lives. And I was just bullied at my last workplace very severely and gaslit. You know, I mean, I didn't even recognize or know that word, gaslight. But I mean, it was bullying. It was really bullying. And I spent a lot of time trying to fix and control it and convince them, you know, and think, why is this happening? This shouldn't happen. If I get a minute, meaning, you know, let them be who they are. They've shown you they're wrong about me. But I was an avoidant and compliant, not wanting to deal with it, not wanting the conflict. And so it allowed the manipulative and aggressive controller people who don't respect people's boundaries to take advantage of that. Okay. To take advantage of that. And I wasn't ever helpless. I wasn't ever helpful. When it came to something that was important, for sure, like, I'm going to stick up, like, but for myself, we're not used to that. Like, I wasn't used to that for myself. So I was like, okay, you're getting in the pool. They're like, that sucks for her. That's so sad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but we're in the pool with her. Okay. And if we're saying, like, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you every time. Of course, most of the world is, except for the person doing it, right? Everyone in the world is going to agree on that, but the person doing it. And there's going to be some of that. But if we stay stuck in that, if we stay stuck in, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing this, then what's going to happen is we're not going to move to transition to set boundaries. Because then what happens is when they're like, they shouldn't be doing this, but they are, we're just arguing with reality. So we try to neutralize it to say, like, okay, what is actually happening? What is actually happening? And that's the support. Bullying is always wrong. It's unacceptable. And then transition to building the skills. So what are the ways that we can help her show up? So she's now, like, when we talk about a lot the thought model, or that, you know, the cognitive behavioral therapy about thoughts create feelings, feelings drive our behaviors or actions or inactions. So if every time she shows up, which makes sense, you know, as feeling helpless, feeling annoyed, but I think mainly she was feeling really helpless. And so then her actions are going to come from, like, she's stuck, there's nothing to do. And then you go to the next thing is that, like, oh, if I wasn't this way, then I wouldn't have to deal with this. So then it's like, do I change something about myself so that then the bully stops? And we want we want to know, like, this is an acute, even though it's maybe not like obviously if it's an emergent issue and you feel like there's concern of physical assault, or your teen is having more like depression or anxiety, or having school phobia, that happens a lot, having anxiety about going to school, the grades are dropping, they're not connecting with their friends, they don't want to participate in activities. Those are the signs that we really need to handle. This is more acute or sometimes even emergent issue, obviously. So make sure that you get the support that you need if that's what's going on. So the other thing is, so sometimes they want to change themselves. So that's a thing we don't want to happen too, is that we go to that secondary thing. It's like, there's things we can do up front. So what are you making it mean if you set a boundary? What do you think is going to happen? They think that maybe if they don't say anything, then it'll just go away. Maybe, we don't know. But we know that when you decide to show up for yourself, like she was showing up as like annoyed and helpless, I'm imagining, and then your actions come from that feeling. And her thought was most likely, though I don't know because I wasn't a coach then, but I was pretending to be her. So the thought is like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I mean, this is just gonna, he shouldn't be doing this. It's so annoying. I wish I wasn't this big and he wouldn't be staring at me if I wasn't. And, that kind of stuff in her head. And it's not going to make anything go away, like for yourself. So then the coaching was transitioned to, well, I feel like he's just wanting her to take the bait. Like he gets power from her engaging. So if she doesn't engage, which I think was genius coaching, if she doesn't engage in it, then most likely it'll kind of like dissipate and go away. So yeah, probably true. So that's a boundary. That's a boundary you can set, is that she is not engaging. She's not engaging at all. And then how can she not engage in her mind? Because we're engaging in our mind and we're managing it in our mind. So what's a thought? It could be like, I can, and you have to create one that's believable to you if that situation's happening. And you can decide how you want to show up. So the feeling that you want to feel, this really helped me before, when I had a coach coach me on this, when I had a meeting I didn't want to go to, I was trying to get out of so badly. And then I'm like, I have to do it. Which I didn't. And I should have said, no, I'm not doing that. And I had that boundary and I wish I would have done that, but hindsight is 2020. But my coach would say, like, wise eyes, fresh eyes. My beautiful Kristen Webster, life and well-being coach. She's a therapist and a life coach. She's so awesome. So she would say, wise eyes, fresh eyes. Karla, try not to do that, where you're putting your wise eyes onto what was your fresh eyes. You had a reason for doing that at the time, but you can decide how you want to show up. So for me, like, I had a meeting with this guy that I didn't want to have, this executive at Children's, and I decided I want to show up as calm. Like, I just wanted to be calm and I didn't have to convince. So you can create a thought, like, I'm here to support the efforts, the mission of the organization. Like, that was my thought. I'm here to support the mission of our organization. He's wrong about me. He knows nothing about me. It doesn't affect my life or career or my work in any way, shape, or form. So those are the kind of thoughts you can create. So maybe she wants to show up as feeling confident. Maybe she wants to show up as feeling just like neutral or calm. Maybe she wants to feel not helpless. What would be, and not switch fully to, confident. Maybe not, wouldn't be a feeling, but empowered, and assertive. And she can create a feeling like, I can advocate for myself. I'm not stuck here. And He has no power over me whatsoever. She can say that over me in my life. He's wrong about me. He knows nothing. Those kinds of things help, to say to yourself before you are setting the boundary or when you're showing up. So maybe that will work, and to not engage with this guy. But, what are the words, the boundaries that you could set with words to like turn around and say, be really honest, speak the truth. The truth is a boundary. So they were coaching me and said to say, that makes me you're looking at me, makes me very uncomfortable. Stop. You don't scare me. Some really powerful statements. You're not scaring me. What is the point of that? Don't even ask a question. Just say a very clear, there's no point to you staring at me. It doesn't scare me. You have no effect on me. Stop staring at me. It's making me uncomfortable. And maybe you don't want to say that, and then turn around. Okay, well, what if that's not enough? Like, you say it and then he keeps going. Well, a boundary is something where you have an actual consequence, like you draw the line, if this, then that. My kids make fun of me and be like, oh, right, you're going to take our screens away and then you forget, like, so then that isn't a real boundary. But if you have a line that you draw and then you have the consequence is like, I'm going to tell the teacher. You can also like physical distance, like move. She can move. She can turn around and say, I'm uncomfortable with that you're looking at me needs to stop. I am not scared of you. If it continues, I will speak with the teacher. Now, a lot of teens will be like, I'm not comfortable saying that. I'm not comfortable saying that. But they are comfortable with saying something. If you are coaching yourself and you decide how you're going to show up ahead of time, you can do it. You can say something like, I need you to stop. You do not scare me. You can say something firm for yourself, and it has to be firm. And then obviously trusting the school too. I mean, the teachers and the counselors, especially, they want to know before things get to a certain point that it's going on and how they can support and help. And because they don't want any student to, excuse me, they don't want any student to be in the position where they don't want to come to school or things get to a certain point. So if you are a parent whose teen is being bullied, then you can work with the school if you're comfortable with it. Of course, don't call the kids' parents, which I mean, maybe if you know them, I don't know, but it's really better to handle it at the school if that's where it's happening. And reach out and of course, tell your teen that you're doing that, but they can handle it in a way that addresses it without having like these, see what their policies are. Maybe, if they have a zero tolerance policy, or sometimes these harsh ways that they're addressing it in some schools isn't helpful for the bully. It doesn't get it to stop, and it can make it worse. So we want to make sure that they're not just being, just punitive, because that might cause more, harm. So anyway, talking to the teacher, talking to the school counselor about it. And the thing is, we want to help it stop for our teen. Like, that's it. That's what we want to have happen, is we want it to stop. And we can't fully control that, but that's the thing that we want to stop. We don't want to focus on like the bully and all that stuff. We just want it to stop. So anyway, I hope that that's helpful. Please reach out to me if you need any extra support. Your teens are amazing, and got a lot of exciting stuff coming up that I'm so thrilled about. So, okay. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the IME Community Podcast, where self-love is your superpower. The content of this podcast represents the opinions of Dr. Karla Lester and is not intended as, and shall not be understood as, a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions shared reflect the host and guest and do not represent an organization or medical group. Always seek the advice of your physician or therapist if you have concerns about your health. And please, like and subscribe to the IME Community Podcast. Share IME with your friends and go to imecommunity.com to join the member community. Don't forget to follow IME on social.